Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lisa Blackwell, and I will be your moderator for today's webinar. On behalf of the Texas Society for Public Health Education, we want to welcome you to today's webinar entitled Increasing Access to Tobacco Cessation, referring to the Texas Quitline. Today, I am excited to welcome Ashley Lemaitre, sorry, from the University of Texas Tobacco Research and Evaluation Team. Before we get started, I just want to review some logistics for today's webinar. If you have any questions, please type them in the comment box or the Q&A box, and we will answer them at the end of the presentation. If you're seeking CHESS or MCHESS credits, please make sure you complete the survey that we will provide at the end of the presentation and include your CHESS or MCHESS ID number. And finally, if you would like to be a featured presenter next year in our webinar series, please let us know. Email us at texassophie@gmail.com. All right, and as I previously mentioned, our speaker is Ashley Lemaitre. She is a Senior Outreach Program Coordinator for the Tobacco Research and Evaluation Team at the University of Texas at Austin in the Kinesiology and Health Education Department. She works with healthcare systems across Texas to help integrate the electronic tobacco cessation referral tool called the e-tobacco protocol into electronic medical records and connects them with the Texas Quitline. This makes tobacco cessation resources more accessible to people ready to quit. Ashley received her MPH from Texas A&M, where she has also worked on the Texas Youth Tobacco Awareness Program. And she has extensive experience in tobacco policy work and chronic disease media campaigns at the local public health level. She has a passion for reaching populations experiencing a greater burden of tobacco. So it is my privilege and honor to welcome her today. And thank you all for joining. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lisa. And I'm excited to be here to talk with y'all today. So I'll be talking more about increasing access to tobacco cessation through referring to the Texas Quitline. So today's learning objectives, I'm hoping that by the end of my presentation, you'll be able to describe the Ask, Advise, Refer workflow and to be able to summarize the process of utilizing the Quitline app. So to get to that point, I'll be first walking through several tobacco-related definitions and data, and I'll also go into the why. Why is this so important for us to be talking about and addressing? And then I will be discussing the resources and benefits of the Texas Quitline, and then go into the Ask, Advise, Refer workflow more in depth, and then move on to discussing the e-tobacco protocol as well as the Texas Quitline app. And then we'll finish up by talking about some free technical assistance that my team can help you with if you're interested in exploring this more. So just starting off, I may mention tobacco products. And when I say tobacco, I'm referring to all tobacco products. That includes cigarettes, hookah, electronic cigarettes, cigars and cigarillos, chew and spit tobacco, snus, and other dissolvable products. And although the research on electronic cigarettes is still evolving, I think it's really important to look at it comprehensively. So electronic cigarettes can go by many different names, including vapes and e-cigarettes and ENDS, which stands for electronic nicotine delivery systems. And they operate by heating a liquid solution, which you might hear referred to as vape juice, to produce an aerosol that the user then inhales. And e-cigarette nicotine levels can vary greatly, and studies have shown that the labeling is not a reliable indicator, and some even have a greater amount of nicotine than combustible cigarettes. Nicotine salts come from taking a free-base nicotine and adding an acid, and the combination lowers the pH, which allows for much higher levels and efficient delivery of nicotine than earlier generations of e-cigarettes. And they're also smoother in flavor, which makes vaping easier. Synthetic nicotine is often marketed as tobacco free, which I think can kind of be misleading because it does still contain nicotine. And there was until recently a loophole that allowed synthetic nicotine to be sold and marketed differently than other tobacco, which included allowing flavors. And then in 2022, the loophole was closed and FDA began regulating them. And to date, there have been no approved applications of synthetic nicotine products that are being legally sold in the US. These products can also create dual use, particularly by individuals who are already using other tobacco products. So they may try vaping in order to cut down, but instead continue using both products. Additionally, young people who vape are 4 times as likely to begin smoking combustible cigarettes when compared to someone who's never used e-cigarettes. So here are some data from the Behavioral Risk Factor Surveillance System. So looking at adult tobacco use in Texas, you can see that the smoking prevalence decreased from 2017 to 2021. And if we look at the Texas vaping prevalence among adults, you can see from 2017 to 2021 that there has been a slight increase. These data are from the National Youth Tobacco Survey. So, according to the data from the 2023 survey, there are about 2.8 million youth who currently use any form of tobacco. This is actually an overall drop from the previous year. So, among high school students, we saw a decrease in any tobacco use between 2022 and 2023. And this can be attributed to a drop in the e cigarette use among high school students. Unfortunately, we did see an increase in any tobacco use between 2022 and 2023 for middle school students. 10% of students reported that they currently use any tobacco product, and for the 10th year in a row, um, the most popular product was e-cigarettes. And then on a positive note, cigar and cigarette use has remained at an all-time low. So looking at e-cigarette product use among youth, there are more than 2.1 million youth who are currently using e-cigarettes. And among those reporting current e-cigarette use, more than 1 in 4 reported that they're using them daily. The most popular product brand that was reported was the Elf Bar, and almost 9 out of 10 reported that they're using flavored e-cigarettes. The following data are from the Texas Youth Tobacco Survey. And when we look at the past 30-day use of any tobacco product use among Texas youth, you can see that both high school and middle school student use rates have dropped over the years. And that's also true for the past 30-day use for e-cigarettes. This is important because, in addition to other health concerns, youth who use multiple tobacco products are at a higher risk for developing nicotine dependence, and they might be more likely to continue using as an adult, which of course can cause lifelong impacts. Now, we know that cigarettes have over 7,000 chemicals, with at least 69 of them known to cause cancer. And cigarette smoking alone kills 28,000 people each year just in Texas. It kills 480,000 people every year across the entire United States. And this includes more than 40,000 deaths from secondhand smoke exposure. Tobacco use costs the state more than $34 billion in healthcare expenditures and lost productivity. And of course, we know that tobacco use is the leading cause of preventable death, and it can cause cancer, heart disease, stroke, diabetes, and lung disease. So I wanted to run through just a couple examples of the impact that tobacco use has on individuals with chronic diseases. So, of course, cessation is important for everybody, but it's extremely critical with individuals who are managing chronic diseases because it can exacerbate the severity of their chronic disease. So with type 2 diabetes, not only can smoking increase the likelihood of developing diabetes, but it can also increase the risk of diabetes related health issues. Nicotine and other chemicals in tobacco can impact the body's response to insulin, meaning that people who smoke may need higher doses of insulin, which can then have a negative health impact, including kidney disease and circulatory problems, just to name a couple. People with HIV are 2 to 3 times more likely to smoke than people without HIV. And those with HIV who smoke have a higher risk of respiratory tract infections, including bronchitis, bacterial pneumonia, and tuberculosis. And smoking can also affect the metabolism and the effectiveness of some of the medications that are used to treat HIV. HIV. About 70 to 80% of people with substance use disorder smoke, and 50% of the deaths among those with an alcohol disorder who also smoke are from tobacco-related diseases. So now I want to go through a few myths that you may have heard in the work that you're doing. So myth number one, occasional or social tobacco use or vaping isn't a big deal. This is busted. So even occasional use of tobacco or vaping products can increase the risk of becoming a lifelong tobacco user. And there are still similar health risks. So cutting back, unfortunately, just isn't enough. There really needs to be a quit plan in place. Myth number two, vaping isn't as addictive as combustible cigarettes. This is also busted. Like combustible cigarettes, nicotine can also be found in e-cigarettes. And because the e-cigarettes come with varying nicotine levels, some users may be getting more nicotine than if they were using combustible cigarettes. And studies have actually shown that the aerosol that's produced by vaping contains lead and volatile organic compounds, some which have been linked to cancer. And then also, cigarette smoking is more quantifiable. So, whereas when someone vapes, especially with the varying nicotine levels, it's really just harder to quantify the use. And then lastly, researchers are still gathering the long-term impacts of vaping, so we really don't have the full picture yet. And then myth number three, it's too late to quit. The damage is already done, kind of giving up on quitting. This is busted. It is true, the longer that you're using tobacco, the more damage is done to your body. But at any age, the sooner an individual is able to quit, the sooner health improvements can be seen. And I'll talk about that on the next slide. So looking at the benefits over time, you can start to see an impact in as little as 20 minutes, where smokers can start to see their blood pressure and heart rate drop. And then within just a few days, the carbon monoxide levels in the blood drops to normal. After 2 weeks to 3 months, the blood flow improves and lung function increases. After 1 to 2 years, the risk of a heart attack drops dramatically. After 5 to 10 years, the risk of cancers of the mouth, throat, and larynx are cut in half, and the risk of stroke decreases. After 10 to 15 years, the risk of heart disease is decreased to half that of a current smoker. And then after 15 years of cessation, the risk of coronary heart disease is close to that of a non-smoker. So, according to the 2020 Surgeon General's report, among current adult smokers, nearly 70% of them want to quit. Over 50% have tried to quit over the last year, and 3 in 5 adults who ever smoked have already quit. So, we know that some form of behavioral counseling, when combined with cessation medications, can double a patient's chance of quitting and staying quit when compared with someone who's using self help or no treatment at all. In fact, fewer than 5% of people who quit without any assistance are successful for quitting and successful in quitting for more than a year. But unfortunately, many healthcare systems are not consistently collecting data or referring to the Quitline. And more than 40% of smokers in healthcare systems are not receiving any tobacco cessation counseling. Now, I want to touch on a few mental health myths. So, myth number one, smokers and e cigarette users with mental health conditions don't want to stop smoking or vaping. This is busted. This is not true. A study of smokers in treatment for depression indicated that 33% of them wanted to quit forever and 47% wanted to reduce their smoking. Only 20% didn't have a current interest in quitting. A study looking at cessation with vaping among US teens between 12 and 17 showed similar motivation to quitting among teens with and without anxiety and depression symptoms, and the quit attempts across the two groups were consistent as well. Myth number two, smokers and e-cigarette users with mental health conditions can't quit smoking or vaping. This is also busted. Research shows that smoking is sometimes used as an attempt to self medicate or to cope with symptoms of depression, anxiety, boredom, loneliness, and other feelings that are common with people who have mental health disorder. A 2021 study among young adults quitting vaping showed no significant differences in quit outcomes among young adults with a range of mental health presentations and those reporting no mental health issues. Now, other life challenges may make it harder for those with mental health conditions to quit, but definitely, with support and treatment, they can be successful in quitting. And then myth number three, quitting smoking or vaping can make mental health condition symptoms worse. This is also busted. Among people who experiencing depression, anxiety, or stress, quitting smoking can actually make them feel better. People that are trying to quit might feel irritable and restless or have trouble sleeping or concentrating or feeling anxious, depressed, or hungry. And this is actually related to nicotine withdrawal. And these feelings usually subside within a few days, but it's definitely important for those individuals to keep their mental health professional in the loop. So now I'm going to talk a little bit more about the Texas Quitline resources. They're free and they are available through the Texas Department of State Health Services funding. They're offered in both English and Spanish as well as additional languages through simultaneous interpretation. Calls are answered and counseling is available 24/7. So it's super convenient, especially, someone who's quitting just needs extra support in the middle of the night even. They can call whenever and get that added support. And then the service is private and confidential as well as HIPAA compliant. So the Quitline offers some really great benefits, including between 5 and 7 counseling sessions for patients who are 13 or older. And then individuals who are at least 18 also qualify for 8 weeks of free nicotine replacement therapy, which can include gum, patches, or lozenges, as well as combination nicotine replacement therapy. And it's actually mailed to their home, so super convenient. And referrals can be made at any time in the year, and individuals can enroll up to 2 times per year. This is something that the Quitline keeps track of, so you don't have to worry about that detail. There are a few qualifications that the Quitline has. So individuals being referred must have a Texas address. That's just so that the Quitline has a place to mail the nicotine replacement therapy. They need to have a working U.S. phone number so that the Quitline can reach out for the to schedule the counseling sessions. And then, as I mentioned previously, they need to be at least 13 or older for counseling and 18 or older for nicotine replacement therapy. And then they also need to be ready to quit within the next 30 days. Um, and then it's going to be really important to make sure that they answer the phone within the next couple days after sending the referral. Occasionally, the call will come up as an unknown number. Sometimes it shows up as Quitline, but just making sure that they know that they should be receiving a call because the Quitline does proactively reach out to the patient or the individual. So it's not, you're handing them a card and telling them they should call, and then they never do. This is really nice. The Quitline kind of takes care of that and reaches out. So after a referral is made and the Texas Quitline receives that referral, like I mentioned, the individual will receive a call within 48 hours, and they'll make up to 5 attempts to reach the individual. So that gives a little bit of flexibility if they're not able to answer the call on the first or second call. And then once the Quitline reaches the individual, they'll ask a few questions just to help tailor the program to that individual's need. And they'll work on setting up that counseling session with the Quit Coach. And Quit Coaches are extensively trained and they'll connect on those 5 to 7 telephone counseling sessions that they'll work with the individual to schedule at a convenient time. And then the nicotine replacement therapy will be mailed to the home. So there are a few different participant tracks. There's the general 18 plus track, and they receive the 8 weeks of nicotine replacement therapy as well as the screening and dosing, and then those 5 quick coaching sessions. And then, like I mentioned, any other supporting time that they need, so they can call in whenever they need additional support. as needed. Then there's also a pregnant or postpartum track, which is for anyone who's pregnant or postpartum up to 1 year after birth, and a behavioral health track for individuals who report mental health or substance use conditions. And they're eligible for all of the same um, resources as the general track, as well as 2 additional quick coaching sessions. So they can have up to 7 quick coaching sessions. There's also a menthol track for individuals who report using um, any kind of menthol tobacco products. Um, and so they'll receive the same information as the general track, but they'll receive tailored messaging about menthol. If they identify also as being either pregnant or postpartum or have behavioral health issues, they could also qualify for those additional 2 coaching sessions. There's also a youth digital program for those that are between 13 and 17, and it's tailored to meet the needs of that aged population. So it's more interactive with videos and animations and things like that. It's typically a 6 to 9 week program depending on when their quit date is. And then there's also the Live Vape Free program, which is a standalone program for individuals specifically looking to quit vaping that are between 13 and 26. So those individuals can enroll by going to livevapefree.com or texting vape free to that phone number. So the stages of change model can be used to think in terms of a patient who's trying to quit tobacco. So starting at the pre-contemplation stage, at this point, they don't really see the negative impact that tobacco is having in their life. And then later they may move into the contemplation stage. This is when they're more open to receiving information and do recognize the negative impact that tobacco is having on them. And this is actually the best stage for someone to be in to really be open to considering help, such as the Quitline referral. So this is a stage that they would most likely reach the I'm ready to quit within the next 30 days point. Then from there, they may move into the preparation stage, and this is where they may start planning to make that change, such as quitting, and making decisions and how to move forward to start gathering those resources. From there, they may move into the action stage, which is where the behavior change actually takes place. And then they may move into maintenance stage. So that's when they'll start using those resources and support that they put into place in the preparation stage. So they may start using the counseling sessions. They may start using nicotine replacement therapy. So they may continue on in this maintenance stage. They also may go into the relapse stage. It's really important that they're reminded that this is an addiction, and so it's very normal to relapse, especially someone who is attempting to quit for the first time. It can be really discouraging to have this kind of a setback, but just reminding them that it takes an average of 7 to 11 times to quit and stay quit. So if they do relapse, they can jump right back in and try again. The Ask, Advise, Refer workflow is an evidence-based approach to tobacco cessation. It's pretty quick. It usually takes between 3 to 5 minutes, and I'll cover each of these steps in just a second. So, as tobacco dependence is a chronic disease, individuals need multiple opportunities to quit, which makes it really important to consistently assess for tobacco use and make cessation opportunities available. Anyone who's at least 13 should be screened for tobacco. And it's really important to make sure that you're asking about all forms of tobacco, including vaping products. And also note that the ask, it doesn't have to be by a doctor. This role can be taken on broadly by anyone in the care team. So it could be a doctor, it could be a nurse or community health worker, it could be a public health educator. And then if the patient's identified as being a tobacco user, that would be what triggers the next step, moving to the advise step. So during the advise step, this is the opportunity to really talk with the individual about quitting. So you can assess their readiness and motivation to quit, assess any perceived barriers they may have, and inform them that there are resources to support them if they're interested, including the Quitline and other local resources that you may be aware of. So when figuring out what you're going to say, just make sure that your message is really clear and strong and personalized to the individual. So here are a few examples that you could use to mix and match in your discussion. So you may say something like, there's no safe level of tobacco use. You can take the money that you're spending on your tobacco and put it toward taking your partner on that date that you mentioned to me. Just making them feel that they're being heard, and really personalizing it to their experience. It's also important to understand and prepare them for potential barriers that they may come across. And nicotine withdrawal can really deter people, especially if they're unprepared. So there may be cravings. So making sure that individuals have a quit plan in place, so that they're ready to manage those cravings when they come up. They can use distractions. So it's going to be really important for them to stay busy, and think of their reasons why they're quitting, why it's important to them. They should also know their triggers and at least temporarily try to avoid them. They may have increased irritability, and this will diminish if they stick with it. It usually peaks after 1 week quit, and it may last between 2 and 4 weeks. They may find it difficult to sleep. So making sure that they try to stick with a sleep routine, try to limit screens in the bedroom, including TV and their phone, try to limit caffeine, alcohol, and big meals before going to bed. They may experience difficulty concentrating, and this will diminish, if they stick with it. They may also experience restlessness. So, encouraging them to add in some physical activity. It could be something as small as, taking a little walk around the neighborhood, getting some yard work done, doing chores, and limiting caffeine can also help with that as well. They may have sadness, anxiousness, or depression. So nicotine and mood are definitely connected. Nicotine affects the brain, and using tobacco is actually what's relieving the nicotine withdrawal symptoms, such as anxiety. But it's temporary, and counseling can actually be really helpful in getting through those feelings. It's also really important to make sure that they're keeping their mental health professional, in the loop as well. They may also feel more hungry than usual, so encouraging them to keep healthy snacks nearby, especially crunchy snacks, will help them manage that. And then during the refer step, this is when you'll refer them to the quit line if they're ready to quit within the next 30 days. So be sure to give them any other supporting written materials, that you may have, to just give them that extra support. We have some really great resources on our website, and I'll share that link at the end. So there are 3 ways that you can refer someone to the quit line. All 3 of them offer the same exact resources to the individual, from the quit line. It just pros and cons, for your organizational needs. Um, so there is the paper-based fax referral, the e-tobacco protocol, which which is done through your electronic health record or through the Texas Quitline app. And I'm going to focus on the e-tobacco protocol and the Quitline app. So the e-tobacco protocol referral is a seamless way for you to assess for tobacco use, identify individuals who are ready to quit, and provide access to quit resources through the electronic health record. And our team can provide free technical support if this is something that you want to explore more. We also provide free training and we continue to assist after implementation, and provide ongoing support. So there are lots of benefits, including bidirectional transmission with the quit line, so they can send progress notes back through your EHR directly in there, so you have a complete picture of where the individual is with their cessation journey. And it can also help meet tobacco cessation quality control measures. It's HIPAA compliant, and our team provides all that technical assistance, like I mentioned. The Texas Quitline app is another wonderful option. It's free to download through both Android and Apple platforms. One of the benefits for this app is that it's a great option for community health workers or any mobile staff who are out in the field and may not have easy access to the electronic health record, to be able to send that referral. Um, and again, the individual will receive the same benefits from the Quitline. Um, it's also a nice alternative if for some reason the e-tobacco protocol isn't an option. And of course, it's also HIPAA compliant. So I'm just going to walk through a brief rundown of the app. When you first open the app, you'll need to set up the provider profile. So this is just a one-time thing that you do. You can always edit it, but you don't need to fully reset it up each time. So you'll enter your name. You can see in this example, it's my name. You'll enter your email. It asks whether you're HIPAA compliant. I've said no because UT doesn't allow us to receive this information. So just depending on your work environment, this may be different for you. You'll choose your state, and you'll put in your clinic or facility name. Just make sure that if anyone else on your team is going to be using this app, that y'all coordinate the naming convention. I'll talk a little bit more about this later, but we have a report that we're able to send out. It just makes it easier if you want to track your referrals to have that exact same name. The report is very sensitive to any differences, so it'll put it on a different line if y'all have a different naming convention. And then you'll add a phone number and a fax number if you're going to be interested in receiving those progress notes back if you have a secure fax line, and then your zip code. So these are some screenshots that just give you an idea of what the Advise tab looks like. So you can see in the top right corner, you can toggle between English and Spanish. So it's bilingual, which is really nice. This section is really helpful, especially for someone who may not use and walk through Ask, Advise, Refer frequently. It's a quick reminder on how to work through that. And each of the little tabs toward the bottom of the screenshot expand to give more details and questions you should ask during each of those stages. So once a profile has been set up, a referral can be sent by entering the person's name, their date of birth, and phone number. You'll want to check the box for the tobacco products that they use, if they're ready to quit within the next 30 days. You can check the box for the link or enter the information for the language they prefer and what time is best to reach them. And then that box toward the bottom of the second screenshot is just the refer information. So this is, in this example, it's my information. You can see that you can easily edit it right there. And then once you're ready to submit the referral, you click the refer this patient at the bottom of the screen. And then the Quitline will reach out within 48 hours of receiving the referral. If for some reason you're out in the field and you don't have a good internet connection, the information is encrypted and stored until it's opened, the app is opened again in somewhere where you have Wi-Fi, and then it will send it. But you're not able to access the details of the referral once you click that button. So the referral information, like I mentioned, it's not stored on your device after you click that button, but the record of referral is kept in the past referrals tab. So when you open the past referrals tab, you'll see the dates and time that you sent the referral. And then the only information about that person is their date of birth, and the rest of the information below that is the refer information. So like I mentioned, this example is my information. And then when you click resources on the bottom menu of the app, you have tons of resources that all expand to give more information. So for example, the tobacco and health menu expands and it provides specific talking points for referrers who are talking with community members about how tobacco impacts their specific health concerns. So for example, if you're talking with someone who has diabetes, you can talk with them about how tobacco impacts their diabetes, or someone with HIV, you can talk about how tobacco use impacts that. And again, you can toggle between English and Spanish if that's necessary. There are also a lot of videos. We built the app with community health workers in mind. So just if you want to brush up on skills, we've got some great motivational interviewing skills videos and some videos on tobacco marketing to youth. So anything that you kind of just need to brush up on, some great resources there. So lastly, I wanted to summarize the free technical assistance that our team can provide. If you're not currently referring to the Texas Quitline, our team is happy to sit down and talk with you more about that. We can also provide training on the Ask, Advise, Refer workflow, the importance of tobacco cessation, the Texas Quitline resources, something similar to what I'm talking about right now. If your organization is already, if you have an electronic health record and you're already using this, we can talk about making sure that you're using it to the best of its ability. If you're not already using it, we can talk about how to start using it that way. All of these resources that I'm talking about are all free. We have a grant that helps us be able to provide all of the assistance, including the ongoing support for free. So we also, depending on funding, have $4,000 mini grants available during the testing phase for those that are implementing the e-tobacco protocol into their system. Um, and then once referrals are being sent, I kind of referenced this earlier, we have a monthly aggregate report that gets shared with us that we're able to share out. So if you're wanting to look at a higher level, how many referrals you're sending, it shares that as well, as how many people are actually enrolling or not, and if they're not enrolling, some of the different reasons why they may not have enrolled. So that can be really helpful for grant applications or other reporting that you may have. And so that's why it's so important to have, or it makes it easier on you if you have the same naming convention as others on your team that are using the app. We also have, like I sort of mentioned before, some great handouts available for patients to help walk through what they can expect after the Quitline referral has gone through. And I'll share that link in just a second. So just to summarize, just remembering to ask about tobacco use, advise individuals to quit and refer them to the Quitline. The Quitline is free, offers between 5 and 7 free counseling sessions for those who are at least 13 or older, and 8 weeks of free nicotine replacement therapy for those that are 18 or older. You can refer through fax or e-tobacco protocol through your electronic health record, or through the Texas Quitline app. And then, like I mentioned, our training resources and assistance are all free. Just feel free to reach out to me, and we're happy to talk more about that. And then these are the resources that I mentioned. The first is a link to Department of State Health Services. They have some really great free tobacco prevention brochures that you can print. And then the second link is our program's website, so you can read more about different things that we have, including some of the print materials that you may be interested in. And with that, just wanted to say thank you so much for being here, and I'm happy to take any questions you may have.
All right. If anybody has any questions, feel free to put it in the chat, or raise your hand and I can unmute you if you'd like to speak. Ashley, I had a question though. You mentioned this being available in EMRs. Um, is this all EMRs, or are there certain ones that it's set up in?
Sure, that's a great question. So we work with a lot of the bigger EMRs, but also
Mhm,
some smaller ones. So
mhm,
it really, it's kind of a case by case. We work with the organization that's interested in we have an IT person. I'm public health. I don't understand IT language at
mhm,
all, but we have a team member who he's our EHR, EMR guru. And
mhm.
so we usually bring him in to have a meeting with that organization's IT, and they can talk their language. But I have not worked with anyone that hasn't been able to integrate it in some way.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay. So if someone was interested in teaching their clinic how to use this, they would go to uttobacco.org.
Yeah, you can just send me an email,
Okay.
and that would probably be the best way. But through a roundabout way, it will
Hmm.
get to me eventually if you go to our website.
Wonderful. Thank you. I'll definitely make sure we know how to do that. Anybody else have any questions? Oh, I see. There's one in the Q&A. Um, Natalia asks, do you have an idea right now of how well utilized the hotline is? And do you notice a difference between self-referrals and referrals from providers in terms of efficacy?
I actually don't get that data. That's something that I'm pretty sure that DSHS, Department of State Health Services, gets. So if it's something that you're interested in, I can reach out and see if they're able to share that with me.
Awesome. Yeah, I agree. That is an interesting question. Um, yeah, I see a lot of people saying this was a great presentation and great webinar. So
Thanks.
thank you so much, Ashley.
Yeah.
Um,
I'll just,
Should
I
be.
can't remember if I said this or not, but one of the great things, and I'm sure y'all, Lisa mentioned I came from local public health, so I know, going to health fairs and talking with people and giving them a card and, say, hey, call this number or, whatever. They don't usually call. So one of the really great things I think about you being able to refer someone is that it kind of takes that step out. If they're telling you in that moment, I'm interested in quitting, sure, the Quitline can call me, and you send that referral in, the Quitline, they proactively reach out to them. So they don't have to take the time to do it because it's on their phone, it's coming up. So
Yeah, I love that. It turns it from someday to like today. I'm gonna start.
yeah. Yeah.
Great. Wonderful. All right. Yeah, I see lots of people that appreciated this. So um yeah, really thank you so much. And Layla Lawson says hi from your old unit with APH.
Hi.
Awesome.
Yeah, feel free to reach out if this is something that you think that your team is interested in learning more about. I'm happy to do this presentation for your team or however we can help. Like I said, it's all free. So um, whatever we can do to support y'all in getting people tobacco cessation.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, this was a lot of information I didn't know. So thank you so much for being here. Let me
Yeah.
see. I'm going to pull up our next webinar is October 22nd. And it will be our final webinar with It's Time Texas. Um, and then I see also Eva just asked if there's any information that sorry, Eva is with T Sophie. Are there any resources like a flyer that we can share um, to link people to you?
Yeah, I'll pull something and send it to y'all after.
Perfect. I love it. And then yeah, Juan Carlos says everybody don't forget to vote. Great comment. Have a great day. All right. Well, thank you again. Thank you all for joining me. And thank you, Ashley, for sharing all this wonderful information about how to refer people to the Texas Quitline and all the amazing free um, resources that that provides. We look forward to seeing you guys on October 22nd and November 5th at the polls. So thank you. Have a great rest of your day.